Hello everyone and welcome to the Q&A and update for July of 2023. If you don't know, this is a monthly series where I talk about everything that sort of happened to me or the channel over the course of the last month, and then answer any questions that you have. This is the first ever Q&A and update that is, I guess, intended to be uploaded to YouTube. The previous ones that you'll see on the channel are all re-uploads that I originally posted on Patreon. This series has always been free to watch. I've never paywalled it or anything. You can still watch the older videos on Patreon if you want. I just understand that it's a lot easier to watch videos on YouTube if you want to watch it on a TV or your phone or something. So going forward, that's where all these videos will live, on the second channel, every month, Q&A and update. And if you're a little bit curious, if you're watching this on YouTube and you're not a part of my Patreon, basically every month on Patreon, I do a Q&A series, an Ask Me Anything post, where you can ask me any question you want and I'll answer it on video. And now that I'm opening this series up to YouTube, I will probably start answering YouTube comments that you might have. So if anyone wants to comment a question that you have down below, I will answer it in the next month's video. Though, fair warning, because this series is more geared towards Patreon, and because I can't answer every question, if you do leave a YouTube question, I probably am not guaranteed to answer it. I might not be able to. However, if you do join the Patreon for just $1, you can ask a question there, and I am guaranteed to answer it. You've given me money, I'm gonna answer your question. So that's sort of how things are gonna work going forward. Hopefully that's not too confusing. Anyway, having to do with the update portion of the series, this month was pretty hectic. I guess big thing that happened, my birthday. I am now 24 years old, which is cool, I guess. I don't know. 24 isn't a super special birthday celebration year. I'm older, I'm in my 20s, I don't know. I don't know what to say about that. But on top of my birthday, and as well, I just had a whole bunch of family related stuff going on. It was a very busy month overall, just in terms of my personal life. So I haven't had a whole lot of time to work on videos, but I did get out my latest video, the Anime Randomizer Part 3, which I'm super happy about. Also, the Anime Randomizer Part 2 finally had the copyright claim on it get resolved. That video got copyright claimed over a month ago now, and they basically wanted to block the video in all countries, and I had to dispute the claim through YouTube, the only way that I could, because the video was already up and it had already gotten its views. I didn't want to take it down and re-upload it. So I disputed it, and they waited out the full 30 days that YouTube gives them to wait out a dispute, and then dropped the claim, which is just annoying because it means that people couldn't watch the video for 30 days. I have had some ideas of just not stuff I want to do on the channel, specific videos, but ideas of where I want to go with the channel going forward. Essentially, I think I've been looking back to my older stuff, specifically the video I did, This Show Isn't an Anime, where I talk about daily life of the Immortal King. I'd have been thinking that I really want to get back into doing single show or single game videos, where it's I'm going to talk about this show or this game and either recommend it to people or review and critique it. So that's, I think, something I want to do. So the Anime Randomizer might go on the back burner for just a little bit while I focus on single property videos, if that's what you want to call them. And yeah, I'm also now currently working on a video on video game difficulty, and kind of, I don't even know how to describe the video. It's a very conclusive look at how people approach difficulty in video games. So that should be coming out sometime in August. I haven't even started editing that, so that's gonna be a while yet. And yeah, that's about it. Been pretty busy this month, had a lot going on, but I have, I think, cleared most of it, so hopefully I'll be able to focus on making videos. I did make the promise a while back that I'd make 2 videos a month, and I'm still sort of working to catch up to be able to fulfill that promise. But hopefully, starting soon, we'll be able to get going with that, so I'm looking forward to it. First question, Viking Robot Ninja asks, which niche video game genre do you think is ripe for the next renaissance, e.g. boomer shooters? Yeah, that is a good question. If you don't know what a boomer shooter is, it's essentially I think they used to be called Doom-likes, games that look like old Doom or like Quake and stuff. Those have become really popular as of late, or like the last couple of years, I think. You've got stuff like Dusk, Ultra Kill, bunch of others that I'm probably forgetting the name of, but basically just like very Quake-like or Doom-like shooter games that have been really exploding in popularity, which is great because, I mean, my video I made, I want shorter games with worse graphics. That's essentially what those are. These cool little like indie games that people make that are very fast-paced. Ultra Kill is like one of the most insane games ever. If you haven't seen Maxor's video on it, it's like the most insanely fast-paced thing ever. Highly recommend you go check that out. Oh, that's another boomer shooter. Speaking of, I played one of them I actually played recently is Warhammer 40k Bolt Gun, which is just Doom, but like you're a Warhammer 40k something, whatever they call them, Ultramarine, I think it is. You play as a Space Marine from Warhammer, and you go around shooting people with the bolt gun and like a bunch of other like crazy Warhammer guns. Very fun game. Basically just Doom. I love it. I love those kinds of games. I really want to get into like Ultra Kill and Dusk and stuff more. I just haven't had time to play them. But yeah, boomer shooters are great. In terms of other genres, I don't really know. There's not a whole lot that I've seen like crop up, I guess. At least as popular as those other ones. Ones that I'd obviously like to blow up in popularity, I guess, would be like the old school like 3D platformer Banjo-Kazooie game. I follow a lot of like small game devs on Twitter, and a lot of them post stuff about like 3D platformers they're making. So I think that might be one that blows up. I don't know if I've seen a whole lot of them get super popular yet. So I think like a return to form Banjo-Kazooie game might be good. I know there was the, what was the game? Ukulele, but I don't think that was super popular, or like, I don't know if people like really loved that game. But 3D platformer like collectathon type games I think would be really cool, especially with all the crazy stuff you could do in terms of mechanics, right? Like you've seen Metroidvanias the last couple of years, especially with stuff almost like Hollow Knight, just like get super in-depth and complex. I'd love to see something on like the 3D platformer angle. I just love old school, like crazy million moves, like the stuff you can do in Super Mario Odyssey where you're like throwing your hat and bouncing off it 5 times in a row to like get somewhere crazy. Stuff that can do that I think would be really cool. Graham, and I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing your last name, I genuinely have no idea how to pronounce it. Graham Naquin, I believe, asks, do you like handheld gaming? Growing up, I only had handhelds and didn't have a home console until I got my first job and bought one. Today I have a PC, but I still gravitate to my handhelds for comfort gaming. I know a lot of people who grew up on the PS2 and Xbox 360 that think handhelds are just for baby games and don't enjoy it, so I was just wondering where you land. I do actually love handheld games. Specifically, like Game Boy was the shit for me. That was one of the first ever consoles, gaming systems that I had, was a Game Boy Color Advanced SP, the like clamshell one. Super great. Wore that thing down until it didn't start, and then my parents got me another one and I wore that thing down until it didn't start again. So I love handheld games. In fact, I even own a really cool handheld, which I'll go grab right now. So I actually have this really cool device called an Anbernic RG35XX. Hopefully that's showing up well on camera. It's just this little, hold on, I'll hold it closer. It's just this little Game Boy looking device that cost, I want to say altogether with shipping and everything included, it's still less than $100. Probably closer to like 60 or 70 for like just the base thing. But yeah, Anbernic RG35XX. There's this, and then there's another one called the Mayu Mini, which is basically the exact same thing. They're basically the same thing. They're just like competitors. And this is a really cool portable emulation device. So I'll actually pop it on. Hold on. Will it start? Yes, it will. So it's running a custom operating system. You probably can't even see it. Hold on. It can play basically everything up to the PS1. I've been playing a bunch of old Game Boy games on it. I played like, what was it? Drill Dozer recently. It's got every form of Tetris on it. And specifically, I actually played through, I wanted to get into like Final Fantasy recently. So I played through Final Fantasy 1, 2, and 3 on this device because it's got every Final Fantasy up to 10, I believe, was the last one that was made on the PlayStation 1. So I've been really getting into that. I also played Shin Megami Tensei 1, which is really fun. That game is like, I had never gotten into a SMT game before, and that game's super cool compared to like old Final Fantasy games. You can like collect demons like Pokemon, super sick. But I played them all on this little device. I'm someone who does not commit a lot of time to playing games, as in I find it like really hard to like pick up a game that I know I'm going to spend hours on, especially if it's on my PC or like on a console or something. I have to really sit down and get into it and like play it for a while, which just means I don't play a lot of games too often unless I'm going to like no life them and just like play them for hours on end. So having this little like portable console thing was super great. They haven't sponsored me, they haven't done anything, but I will link, there's a video by a channel, I believe called Retro Game Reviews, that did like a full review of this thing, breaks it down and like tells you how to use it and all that. And then they have a link to like where you can go and buy it if you want. So I'll link that in the description if anyone wants one of these. They're super cool. It is kind of shitty in some ways. The like clear purple shell looks cool at first and it's kind of like a little after a while. The audio on it isn't great. It's just got like one tiny speaker on it. And if you buy it originally, the D-pad isn't great and the triggers have like this really annoying rattle that I had to fix with a piece of tape that you can't even really see anymore. So I did have to like custom mod it to make it good, but just spending $100 on one of these and then just being able to play anywhere. One of the best decisions I've made this year. It's super fun. Played a lot of games on it. Love handheld games. Marcel David asks, which was your favorite console generation? And which was your favorite anime season? Console generation, I'm probably gonna go PS3, because that's where I became like a really big gamer. I had like a PS2, an N64, Game Boy Advance SP, and a Wii. I had a bunch of stuff before that, but I never really got like huge into gaming or like really got into it in a major way. I just kind of like played whatever my parents got me and like didn't care. And then I got a PS3 for Christmas or my birthday, I believe. And that's when I got like really into games. I got this huge gaming collection. I started like playing games every day, played through like basically every game that I've talked about like in a video where I'm like, oh, I played this in my childhood. I probably played it on a PS3. I played like Mass Effect, Saints Row, old Grand Theft Autos. I played everything. I played my PS3 until it died and got the like yellow light of death that they get after a while. Absolutely loved that. Favorite anime season? Probably a lot harder to answer because I don't really keep up with seasonal anime at all. And I am not smart enough to be able to group together different anime from past seasons that I've enjoyed. So actually, give me a second. Upon further research, my favorite anime season is spring of 2011, because that's when Steins Gate, Blue Exorcist, Dead Man Wonderland, and Nichijou were airing. So I don't really care about seasons. I don't have any I don't keep track of that. I'm not at that point yet where I'm like comparing, spring of 2013, Attack on Titan came out, but like in summer of 2016, this came. I don't really care too much about that. And I definitely have not cared about watching seasonal anime. I wait until the reviews come out or like the hype for a show builds it up enough that I need to be watching it, like recently with Bocchi the Rock or something like that. Yeah, I don't really care about anime seasons. Kidney Vendor asks, do you think there was ever a golden age of video games or anime? If there was, what era? I basically talk about this idea in my Space Westerns video. Just the idea that like there is a golden age of anime or a golden age of video games or a golden age of anything if you specifically like the style and themes of that era, right? So like for me, I love like late 90s anime. They have such a unique visual style at the time, and they explore a lot of very unique themes. It's where you got some of the greats like Cowboy Bebop and Trigun and all that. And that for me is like, I really enjoy that era just because of all the stories and stuff that they were trying to tell. But it's also like, I don't think it was the golden age. I think it was just the golden age for that kind of anime, right? You couldn't make Cowboy Bebop today because it would be a different show if it was made in 2023 than if it was made in 1996, 98. I have holes in my brain. It's just going to be a different kind of show depending on when it's made. So like, I think there's different golden ages. I mean, obviously for me, the golden age of video games was like the like 2010s Mass Effect hype era with like all of the, I mean, everyone talks about the different Call of Duties that were coming out in that era. When like Black Ops 2 was coming out and people were in high school and you were just gaming with your friends, like that's a golden age to you. But other people think that now is the golden age because of all these other games coming out. Or like back in the 90s, it was the golden age because all of these games came out. So like there's never going to be the perfect era for everyone. It's just depending on your tastes, and that's going to completely change because a lot of stuff is just very much influenced by when it was made, if that makes any sense. Giant Purple Pen 15 asks, has the trophy achievement system affected your enjoyment of games? It's dumb, but I feel a lack of satisfaction when I don't get a little ding and notification in older games now. Yeah, I think that's something, especially for people that were in like the Xbox 360 era of games experienced, like that was a big driving force for a lot of people. I know people to this day that are still achievement hunters, specifically because they started playing like the Xbox 360, and that notification pop-up was like the most addicting feeling ever. Even on PlayStation, I had that to a lesser extent, but like the PlayStation obviously couldn't compare in terms of achievements. And then I played on Steam, and Steam achievements fucking suck. There's just a silent little like, well, you got a thing. I don't know. And then a lot of games I play, I mean, I've been playing older like retro games and stuff, and like you just don't get achievements for those. There's just a lot of games that don't have achievements, period, or like platforms that don't enable them. So like I've never really cared too much about it. I've never tried to like 100% complete something. The only games that I've ever 100%ed have been Spider-Man PS4 because it's very easy to get 100% in that game, and Bloodborne because I loved Bloodborne so much that I was like speed running it at some points. I was just getting everything. But I don't know. I've never been into that culture. I've never like been huge into achievements. I do wish that every platform had the Xbox 360 achievement notification because that was like the coolest thing ever. But like, I don't know if it would change the way that I play games. It hasn't really up until now just because I was never an Xbox 360 gamer. Orwing asks, I know you said in your second anime randomizer video you were going to watch Trigun 98, but have you considered reading the manga? Having experienced all three versions of the story, the manga is by far closest to my heart, and I highly recommend checking it out if you haven't yet. I'm really excited to see how Stampede puts a fresh spin on its story beats in future seasons. P.S. You said you really enjoyed the Stampede OST. Which track is your favorite that isn't Knives Piano? P.P.S. It's like ore, like raw metal, not the Japanese personal pronoun. Ore. I do want to read the manga though, because I have heard that it's like the full package to experience all three. And I've been getting into a lot of manga lately. I've been reading through a ton of chapters of like newer stuff. Sakamoto Days and Dandadan specifically are like phenomenal. So I'd love to read the Trigun manga, especially because I know now that reading manga is like the preferred way to experience a lot of stuff because you can just binge through it like a day if you want to. As for my favorite OST soundtrack, I really, for my Space Western video, I really wanted to use the Trigun OST in the video because a lot of that video is like Western sci-fi music, and the Trigun OST specifically is like what got me inspired to like kind of go with that aesthetic. However, all of it's copyright, so I can't use any of it. But specifically, I think there's one called like, I don't know if it's called Defend the Town. I'm actually going to look it up right now. There's one called The Geniora Rock Resistance. That song's amazing. I think it plays in episode 3, I want to say, when like a big fight breaks out. It's just the perfect combination of like country jams that like, or like Western jams that feel like really action packed. And then there's just that like sci-fi hint to it. It's so good. It's such a good blend of like the two styles of music that the show is going for. Crimson asks, are you/have you ever been into any sports or sports games? Sports games, no. I don't think I've ever seriously played any of them. I had a roommate in college that was like addicted to NBA 2K. Like every night he would have friends over and they would play 2K together. And I think he spent a bunch of money to like unlock whatever you have to unlock in those games. There's a lot of weird like spend $15 to buy LeBron James. I don't know how those games work. I haven't looked into them since my monetization video where I called them shit, I think. But yeah, I've never really played them. I know a lot of people, specifically in high school too, because I live in Canada, a lot of people really love the NHL games or like just any hockey related game, which are very similar just from watching people play them, to soccer games. You just kind of like ping around which character you control and like move up and down the field. But like, I've just never cared about that. I don't care about sports at all, like watching them. I'll watch them with friends if I want to go out to an event, because like that's fun. But I don't keep up to date on like teams or anything, or like who I want to win or whatever. Which again, I'm Canadian, so like everyone around me loves hockey and I just don't care. So I've never really cared about sports games. And as for playing, I used to play soccer when I was in like middle school. And then when I went into high school, our two main teams for our school were volleyball and badminton. And I did not like either. I wasn't really that good at either. I just didn't have fun with them. And then, yeah, we tried to get like a basketball team going in high school, but like the region that we would play basketball against, just no one ever made like a full, I don't even know what you call it, roster. Like we just couldn't get anything going. Football, same thing. I probably would have enjoyed playing football or basketball or even hockey more. We just could not organize any teams for them whatsoever. The only teams we had were volleyball and badminton, which probably owes to me going to like a small school in the middle of nowhere. So yeah, I just never played sports. Didn't care about them at all. Didn't have any reason to, because none of the sports that people played were... Oh, we also had curling. Curling fucking sucks. I hate curling so much. It's like the worst sport to both watch and play. I think the only sport that's worse to watch is golf, because it's just boring. But golf is actually like kind of fun to play, because you can literally just rent a golf cart with friends and basically just go day drinking, which is what everyone that plays golf does. So no, I never really played any sports or like anything other than soccer in like middle school. Fishy asks, are there any new games coming out that you yourself are personally excited for? Also, what's your thoughts on the manga Dandadan? New games that I'm excited for? I don't even know. I'm really excited for Armored Core. I think that comes out soon. Even that I'm super excited for and will definitely play day one, but I have not been excited enough to know when it comes out. So there are no other games that I have any context or clues or anything for when they're coming out or anything like that. Armored Core 6, I'm definitely going to play. I really love the idea of that game. I've wanted to actually get into the older Armored Cores to get into that. Because obviously I'm a huge FromSoft fanboy. But that I'm super excited to play. Any other big game I have not cared to pay attention to. What are my thoughts on Dandadan though? Oh my god, Dandadan is the most insane manga I've ever read in my life. I remember watching Alex's video on it years ago. I don't even know when that video came out. But I remember watching him talk about that and being like super hyped for it and being like, oh, that sounds really cool. And I was just not into manga. And then when I got into manga, it was one of the first ones I read. And holy shit, it's so insane. It's like the most insane thing ever. Basic premise, a guy and a girl who are both kind of nerdy, but like don't have any reason to ever talk to each other because they're in two different groups in high school, end up through a chance meeting, talking to each other about their nerdy interests. And the guy is really into UFOs and the girl is really into the paranormal, but they don't believe that the other exists. So the guy's like, well, if you don't believe in UFOs, why don't you go to this UFO spot? And the girl's like, well, if you don't believe in ghosts, why don't you go to this ghost haunting location? And they both go to the other one, and the girl sees aliens and the guy sees ghosts, and it turns into this insane adventure involving people trying to steal someone's balls and them turning a house into a fucking Ava mech. There's so many references and like insane character developments. There's a lot going on with Dandadan. There is so much going on. And yeah, I've really been enjoying that manga. If there's any manga I would recommend to someone, it would probably be Dandadan. It's crazy. It's actually crazy. I've read like a Chainsaw Man or like a Jujutsu Kaisen where there's like, oh, wacky ghosts. And just stuff doesn't even compare to like the hype that Dandadan has. Even the character designs are like sick. It's so cool. Check out Dandadan, read it. I love it. Cannot recommend enough. Clytor asks, with you approaching 100K, what would be your best advice to potential/other ongoing small content creators who may be struggling? Yeah, so I am doing I have this project planned out for 100,000 subscribers where I do want to shout out smaller creators because I think that that's important to me. As someone who's just been influenced by like hundreds, if not thousands of different videos and channels that I've seen, I think it's just really important to like pay that back in a way, I guess. I don't know. But specifically advice for channels, that's kind of the thing with like asking YouTubers their advice is you really shouldn't trust someone who like is a successful YouTuber on like how they did it, because it's kind of like asking a lottery winner like how they did it. I'm sure they had this perfect system for buying tickets that like made them win the lottery, but at the end of the day, they still had to buy tickets and like pray. And a lot of YouTube does feel that way. There are certain things you can do that might increase your odds, but like anyone that's going to tell you like this is 100% how you make it on YouTube is lying to you. They're trying to sell you something. However, the best advice that I could give to probably anyone doing YouTube at any level, and for both burnout and for trying to grow, it's kind of my one-stop solution, or at least because it's not a solution, it's more of a philosophy, I guess you'd call it, has just been be on the platform a lot. Like obviously watch YouTube videos and stuff like that and like enjoy content. Look at videos you like and look at what videos interest you. And then think of ideas for YouTube videos that you would like to see that have not been made before. And that is wildly vague advice that's, oh, of course, just make a video no one's made before. Easy, right? But a lot of what I've done on YouTube that has both been the most satisfying to me in terms of like avoiding burnout and stuff, but also what's gotten me the most success has been having ideas for anything, wanting to see a video on that idea, not seeing anyone has made one, and then making it myself. I have countless examples of this. So like Elden Ring had just come out. Elden Ring came out, everyone's talking about it, everyone's making videos on Elden Ring. I remember looking up, I don't even know what the search terms I used, I think just Elden Ring critique, because at the time I had been watching a YouTuber called Joseph Anderson, who does these long form critiques of video games that talk about kind of all of the mechanics and story and everything like wrapped together. So I looked up like Elden Ring critique, trying to find this like long form, thoughtful critique of it. Couldn't find any. So I was like, why don't I make one? And I made this like 2-hour long Elden Ring critique. That's just me going over every thought I actually had with the game that I would have loved to have seen a video of someone else talking about, but no one did. So I'm like, I'll just do it myself. And that video got like several 100,000 views and like blew up because there was other people who were like, I want to see an Elden Ring critique, and no one had made one yet. And then I made one and it blew up until Joseph Anderson made a video on Elden Ring. And then his video kind of like obviously overtook mine. Another example, I remember watching Fire Force, and I watched Fire Force and thought, man, the fan service in this show is kind of garbage. I don't like it. But I like fan service in other shows. Like I'll watch a Kill la Kill and be like, this is great. Or like a Food Wars and this is great. Why is that? Why do I like it in some shows? Why do I not like it in others? So I just plugged the word fan service into the YouTube search bar and nothing at all. There's an Anime Man video from 6 years ago, I remember quite clearly, where it's less than 10 minutes and it's completely unscripted. And he's like, it's okay, I guess. Don't love it, don't hate it. It's kind of good in some shows, but not in others. And he like doesn't cover anything because it's just an unscripted video. And I was like, man, someone really needs to make a video just like covering fan service, right? Covering the entirety of like what to do. And no one had. I looked up fan service in like every possible spelling and didn't find any like long-form conclusive videos on it. The only one that I found was Study of Swords talking about fan service in relation to Kill la Kill, which was really great and inspired like a part of my video. But I was like, no one had made anything on fan service that was like a conclusive look at it. So I was like, I should make that. Like I should be the one to do that. I just like did online research into the subject and pulled up all this stuff and put it into a video, and it got almost 1 million views before it got age restricted by YouTube. And like that was entirely because like obviously a lot of people wanted to watch something on fan service. So that's why I made that video. And then I did the same thing with waifus a while later. I looked up waifus and no one's made a video that's just like, here's why people like waifus. Here's the history of waifus. So I'm like, I should do that. Yeah, this kind of devolved into a little bit of a rant, but the one piece of advice I'd give is just flip your perspective on why you make videos. And instead of making videos to make videos first of all, and then see if someone else has done that thing afterwards, make videos that you would want to watch. come to YouTube from the perspective of a viewer first, and you're guaranteed to not be alone in that perspective. So if you make videos that satisfy you, they're going to satisfy other people. And that's my philosophy. That's how I've approached it. And that's also why I don't pin myself down with like 1 or 2 different types of videos. I try to like change things up because I just have different ideas for like stuff I'd want to watch. And then I go, well, I'd want to watch it, so I'll make it so that other people can. And that's sort of my one philosophy behind everything. But again, personal experience, definitely not going to guarantee you success or anything. It's just what's worked for me. And yeah, that's about all I can offer. I don't know. But that is about it for this month's Q&A and update. If you are following me on Patreon, make sure to look out for a new Ask Me Anything post sometime in the future where you can ask me all of the questions for next month's Q&A and update. If you are watching this on YouTube and you don't follow me or support me or anything on Patreon, then leave a comment with a question you have, and I might answer it in the next video. No guarantees, but yeah, I'm opening this up to the public a little bit more, just because it's a little bit easier. And yeah, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.